Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I will also name one book to be the speculation pick of the week. I also want to let you know in advance there will be no video next Wednesday on December 28th. There will be a top 10 comics of 2016 report, which will be a recap on the previous year. And that's bound to make most of you guys happy. So without further ado, here are the new comics for this week. First up, DC Comics has given us Harley Quinn number 10. I really like what they're doing with this character with Amanda Conner drawing her. The Bill S variant is also out. It wasn't available at press time at the time I made this video, so I can't show it. There's also news about the Harley Quinn spinoff movie. It's going to be based on Gotham City Sirens, guest starring Catwoman and Poison Ivy. I made a video about that on December 17th, so be sure to check that out in my video archives. Next up is He-Man Thundercats number 3. If you grew up in the 80s like me, then these characters are absolutely iconic, and I can't wait to see them on a silver screen and a live action movie. The CGI is going to cost $1 gazillion. That's the only reason you haven't seen them yet. It's not a sure thing like the Transformers. Eventually they'll get to this, but until then, enjoy the comic. Next up is Trinity issue number 4. This is a series starring Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, the holy trinity of DC Comics, which the whole company is founded upon. People that never read a comic book in their whole life know who these characters are. I'm just praying that DC gives us a good JLA live action movie. Next up is Raven, issue number 4 of a 6-part miniseries. This has been a real surprise. I don't think that DC had any real plan for this character. They were just trying it out to see if it would take or not. But I think they're underestimating just how important and how popular the Teen Titans are. And DC is not giving people enough Teen Titans material. So to see this aged down version of Raven, I think this was very welcome. And the character should have its own ongoing series based on this interpretation. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to. And that's going to be The Amazing Spider-Man number 22. This is the Clone Conspiracy crossover in which the Jackal is the big bad. Just about every issue associated with this crossover is going to a second print, so it's been well received. Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, battling the bad guy since 1962. Next up is Black Panther World of Wakanda number 2. This is the Black Panther spin-off series where they focus on the DORA, MILEAJE. I'm probably mispronouncing that. This is the all-female security team of the Black Panther. They are trained to protect the king and all of Wakanda with their life. The cover artist is Afua Richardson, who is one of the few female African-American artists in all of comics. See more of her work at drfu.tumblr.com. The variant cover of this issue is also done by a woman, Marguerite Savage, and it too looks awesome. Next up is Gamora number 1. This character is best known as being the love interest of Star-Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy. But just remember, she's a warrior. She does not dance, she kills. The deadliest woman in the galaxy and the adopted daughter of Thanos. She's been around in comics for a very long time, first introduced in Strange Tales 180 back in 1974. With the success of the 2014 film, all of the characters have got their own title except for Gamora. What's up with that anyway? So it's long overdue that she got her own title. There are many different interpretations of this character shown here. She's a lethal warrior that is not to be trifled with. Speaking of Star-Lord, his number 1 issue also drops this week. This is a reboot of his previous title that wasn't selling that well. So that's something Marvel always does, is just reboot it to number 1 to try to rekindle interest. I'm surprised they did it the same week as Gamora dropping, because I don't think that people will get both of these issues. They're going to get one or the other, which could dilute the sales of both titles. If you pay attention to the background, you're going to see that that is Starry Night, the famous artwork that's done by Vincent van Gogh. So good eye if you caught that. And speaking of Thanos, his number 2 issue comes out of his ongoing series. I really like this art showing the contrast of his power next to a butterfly, which is small and delicate. It depicts him sort of like a gangster at the boss level, where you'll go to the opera, be a philanthropist, but on the other end, your business is killing people and doing some really bad things. Next up is The Mighty Captain Marvel number 0. This takes place directly after Civil War II, where she has become a very controversial figure among the public. Some are viewing her as a savior, some are viewing her as a tyrant that only wants things her way. It's clear that Marvel is developing this character to be their answer to Superman. In the lead up to her 2019 feature film, she's going to be the most powerful character in the MCU, and they're going to depict this in the comics to match what's going to happen in the movies. So when Brie Larson plays the character in 2019, The character will be developed as the biggest badass in the MCU, other than the Hulk, just in time for Infinity War. Next up is the Invincible Iron Man #2. This is the Riri Williams version of Iron Man, where she goes by Ironheart. There's been a lot of hype and goodwill towards this character, and everyone has embraced her. And of course, issue #1 sold a gazillion copies. Now that we're at issue 2, we're about to see if this character has what it takes to headline her own title for the long term. I would say yes, because her creator, Brian Michael Bendis, is the same guy who created Jessica Jones and Miles Morales. So he knows how to properly create these new types of characters and develop them properly. So I'm on Team Riri. I think you should get on board as well. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Motorgirl #1 from Terry Moore and Abstract Studios. This is going to a second print. It's a story of a woman who has a junkyard and it gets visited by aliens that are looking for spare parts. This is going to be one of those very low print run indies that you'll have to ask for by name at your comic shop because they're probably not carrying it, but they should because it's very good. Next up is Briggs Land #5 from Dark Horse Comics. This series has been optioned to become a television show in the future over at AMC. For plot details, watch my August 17th video from the archives. This is an excellent non-superhero read that you should be paying attention to. Next up is Lock and Key Small World #1. Lock and Key won an Eisner before, so if terror and suspense is your thing, then this is the comic for you. Next up is Lady Mechanica, La Dama de la Muerte. I'm sure I am butchering that. This is issue 3 of this miniseries. Joe BENITEZ is the writer and artist on this. He's the guy who is the authority on steampunk comics. So if you're into that, then you should be picking this up. Next up is Joyride #8 from Boom Studios. This is Jackson Lansing on the writing and Marcus Toe is the artist. They combined their efforts from The Maze Runner and Hacktivists. Now they're back with this series. It was only supposed to be a 4-part miniseries, but it was so popular that Boom decided to extend it into an ongoing series. It's the story of 3 teens having adventures in outer space. Next up is World War X #1 from Titan Comics. This is the story of a monstrous alien that was on a long hibernation on the moon. It's awoke now and it's going to destroy the Earth. So only one man can make a difference. His name is Helios. He's a tried and battle-weary veteran of ancient war. I'll buy that. That's worth $4 for a tryout. Next up is Dead Inside #1, which is also from Dark Horse Comics. This is the story of a female detective that has to solve crimes that are committed inside of jails. This feels like a mashup of Law and Order meets Orange is the New Black. If you like those TV shows, then you should like this. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank #3 from Black Mass Studios. Before we get into it, I've been very harsh on Black Mass for not shipping on time. They have some phenomenal comics and they're losing momentum because of the shipping delays. I had a conversation with Matthew Rosenberg, who's the writer and creator of 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank on Facebook. And basically he explained on the delay on his title is that he had to move to a different state to help some family members. So I apologized to him and said, hey, family first. Here's some quick plot details about 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank. It's the story of Paige, a young girl who lives with her father after the suicide of her mother. She plays video games with her best friends, 3 young boys. And on a trip out to get some ice cream, 4 hooligans walk into the house looking for her father. It turns out later that her father actually knows these hooligans from his criminal past. And they're trying to bring him in to do one more caper with him. It hasn't got that far into the story, but based on the title of the book, it appears that the kids are going to pull the caper to keep Paige's father out of it. This title has suspense, it has humor. Matt is the same writer who gave us We Can Never Go Home back in 2015. He's at it again. He's on the top of his game in this book. This is definitely Eisner worthy. You'll have to get issues 1 and 2 for this to make sense because the trade paperback's not out yet. But I highly, highly, highly recommend this whole title. Go ahead and get the whole miniseries. I don't know when issue 4 is going to drop because of his personal issues, but it'll be worth the wait. Before we close, let's see what Image has to offer. And that's going to be The Fix issue #7. This is a story of crooked cops, crooked politicians, and crooked crooks, Everybody's crooked, and it's a dark comedy, and it's absolutely hilarious. I advise you to pick up a trade paperback so you can catch up to what's going on. You should be able to get issue 1 for about $7 to $8 on eBay as well. I would start with that if you can't find the trade. And last but not least is Southern Cross number 10. This is one of those comics that gets lost out there with everything that's happening. It's the story of a woman in the future who's traveling on a spaceship to find the remains of her sister and find out what happened to her. But on the spaceship, she meets some very creepy people. This is definitely another title that you'll have to pick up a trade paperback and just lunge into it. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.